Hi, I'm Father Michael Orsi. I am your host for Action for Life Television. Today is the fourth time we're going to be celebrating a Blue Mass and a Mass for first responders. Those people who put their own lives on the line to keep us alive, to keep us healthy, and also to keep us free. Today we have with us a very interesting priest. He is from the Archdiocese of Boston, and he told me that he has law enforcement in his blood. His father was a police officer, his brother is a police officer, and his nephew just graduated the police academy. Today we have with us Father Sean Connor. Well, Father, would you please tell us about how you transitioned from being a policeman, 10 years, to becoming a priest?
It's kind of interesting. In Boston, much like New York and your major cities, has a lot of police families, firefighter families, families that follow one another in service. And we were very proud growing up of our dad. He served for 35 years in a town just south of Boston called Milton. Sadly for us, he passed away almost 40 years ago. And for my brother and I, we had that itch, that desire to imitate his goodness and his service. And both of us, shortly after high school, entered police work, and my brother's been serving for 35 years. And after 10 years for myself bouncing around different parts of the department, I just didn't have that happiness factor. And after times of prayer and retreat and service in the church, that reignited call of vocation to serve in a different way. And so I kind of left it all behind and applied to the seminary at age 30, and 6 years later I was ordained a priest.
That's a fantastic story. You've also had some very interesting experiences as a priest and then chaplain to the Boston Police Department. Two things stand out. First of all, you were involved in helping the cardinal during the clergy sex abuse crisis. Can you tell us, what did you do to try to help that terrible situation?
Once revelations of the sadness and the hurt was made public, and I was just a few months ordained, I got a phone call in the middle of the night from the cardinal's office asking to talk to me. They were looking through my personnel file, and they said, can you answer subpoenas? And I said, yes. Can you help victim survivors? And I said, yes, I'm certified as an investigator for that. And they said, you're being transferred. So it was February of 2002 when the revelations broke, and within weeks I began to assist the poor folks who had been lost, abandoned, and betrayed by the church. And was privileged to be part of a team that could help them, bring them hope, but also help them bring their complaints to those who could help them best.
It was wonderful that God kind of prepared you to do something like that. Your background with law enforcement, your experience in dealing with people who are hurting, and then as a priest to bring them the consolation that they needed for their spiritual life, for their souls. The second thing that stands out is that you were there for the Boston Marathon bombing, and that was tremendous tragedy. You became personally involved with the families of those who were hurt, and also counseling families for those that were lost because of that. And one became very special to you, a young man named Richard.
Martin Richards, yeah. They actually were my parishioners.
Uh-huh.
I was dispatched along with the other emergency personnel to the scene. I arrived there shortly afterwards and saw the horror of what evil, violence, hatred brings, and was amazed at just the courage of public safety first responders, not just from Boston, but from area communities who came to bring aid. And as you know from the news cycle, that it was really a week that the city was shut down. And that first night, late into the night, I was called to Children's Hospital, where I found out that the Richard family had been so grievously injured, losing young Martin at age 8, and Jane losing her leg and being in hospital, and not knowing if she would make the surgeries, and Bill and Denise also being injured. And I remain very close to them and work on their foundation. And their response to the hatred that came their way was not to do simple acts, but also great acts to bring peace and healing and justice in their son's name, to accomplish what they know he would have done, but to do it tenfold. So they've really brought their gift to the nation. Unlike what you might read in news or see on TV, our first responders know each other, they live with each other, they worship with each other. A lot of them grew up together, and their response is synthesized. They just do great work, and they do it in such a beautiful, generous way, and they're often misunderstood or judged or criticized, and they really are heroes in our midst.
Today we're going to have representation from police, local. We're also going to have many retired officers and their families, also members of the fire department and members of their families, and we'll remember those who have given their lives in the service of the people that they serve in their various cities from which they come. And then also the EMTs will be here. Certainly these people oftentimes have our lives in their hands. This past weekend, we had the March for Life in Washington. And I'd like to call this a Life Weekend, remembering the unborn, the born, and all of us who are in between that need other people to help us to preserve life and to keep us safe and to keep us healthy. And so I would ask all of you today and every day to remember those people who are the first responders to us in time of need and in times of charity. Thank you. God bless you. Thanks. Hi, this is Richard McGee, and he is a paramedic here in Collier County. Would you say that you have a ministry?
I would say that. I always tell people that I'm the luckiest person in the world, because not only do I do this, I'm also the music director at St Finbar Catholic Church. So I get to help people spiritually in church and physically on the road.
You are then also a man of prayer.
Yes.
And it's that prayer that gives you, I'm sure, the strength that you need to walk into some very difficult situations. Not only is a person very sick and hurting, you also have to deal with families.
Yes.
Mr. Richard McGee, thank you for all that you do for the people of our county.
You're welcome.
God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thanks. We have with us also today, we have Corporal Mark Vale. And not only is he an officer, but he is in charge of something called community outreach. So I want to welcome you in a very special way.
Thank you, Father. Thanks for having us today.
Oh, my gosh.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and you came to us and asked if you could bring some photos
Yes.
of fallen officers.
Correct. Today we're trying to make this wonderful event you guys host every year even a little bit more kind of out there on the horizon a little bit, to bring more people in and see what you guys do, because it's a great tribute that you guys do. So today we did invite what's called the Fallen Officer Association. The Vice President Mark actually came out there and set up all those wonderful signs you see coming up. Those are all officers that were killed in the line of duty in Southwest Florida. So in this region, each one of those signs represents a member that made the ultimate sacrifice to their community. The other thing we did today is coming in the entryway at the table. Those are all members that we lost this year from natural causes, but just to pay a special tribute to them. They all had a wonderful career here. So we have 5 members that passed away this year from natural causes. So we kind of honored them.
Thank you so much,
Father.
Matt. God bless you.
God bless
Thank
you, too.
you.
Thank you for hosting.
We have with us today 2 firefighters. One on my right, Jeff Schmidt with the New York Fire Department, retired, and Sam Cadreau. He was a member of the Collier County Fire Department, and they're here with us today for this Mass for First Responders. So Sam, tell us about what do you do now? Retired firefighter, you've gone through a lot of fires. Tell us about your work.
Well, it was a great job. I enjoyed it very much, and I'm still active because we have a very active Gulf Coast Retired Firefighters Association here. Jeff was our president for a while. He just stepped down as the president, and a new president came in. We do a lot of activities around the community, for the community. We have our own fire truck that we take out for displays and parades and education.
And we have Jeff Schmidt from New York City. Now, that's fighting a fire. Jeff, tell us about your most memorable experience.
Well, I have to tell you, this is a blue mass. So one of my fondest memories is we were actually going to a fire at Coney Island. And if it were not for the police looking out for firefighters at a fire, a lot of us would have been seriously hurt, not just from the fire, but they were literally throwing bricks and bottles at us.
Oof.
From the rooftops, 8 stories up. And this is one of the most important things, and one of the things I love about the police. They're there to protect the community.
Right.
And we're there to protect the community. But at the same time, they're there protecting us who are helping the community at the same time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Father.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you, my man. God bless you. This is Dr. Paul Hobeka, and Dr. Hobeka has a very special ministry here in Collier County. He takes care of the police, the firefighters, and the EMS people. He's also my private physician.
So about 12 years ago, I set up a private clinic that specialized in healthcare for first responders a year. So we do medical monitoring once a year for the responders and trying to keep them healthy.
Wonderful. Thanks, Doc.
You got it.
You're the
Thanks,
best.
Father. Appreciate it.
This is Woody Graby, and he's a vet, but he's also a member of a wonderful organization called Rolling Thunder, and they come every year to this Mass for first responders in order to show their support. So, Woody, could you tell us what Rolling Thunder does to help our vets, their families, and how supportive you are of those people who serve us as first responders?
Sure. Rolling Thunder, first of all, is a mostly veterans, group of mostly veterans. And what we do is we seek out and try to help needy veterans.
Thank you so much, Mr. Woody Gravy. God bless you. As you can imagine, producing this wonderful program, Action for Life, it costs a great deal of money. We're going to need your help. So if you would like to donate to keep this good news program on the air, please go to your computer, your cell phone, actionforlife.net. And now for our thought for the day. Prayer is extremely important. We're not fighting a battle just against earthly powers. We're fighting a battle against evil. Please take some time each day to pray and ask God for the strength that you need and that we need to keep up the battle for life.
Our psalmist, our refrain today, reveals something. It's part of the mystery of our faith. And it's part of that mystery that's the hardest for us. Peace and justice will come, but in God's time. Even from time of old when the children of Israel are in exile, God wields his mighty hand. He saves them, but it's not quite done yet. Even when the fullness of time comes and he sends his son to save us and redeem us, he's still not done. There's more to come. My father, as Father Michael said, was in law enforcement for 35 years. I come from kind of a unique family background. My father was born in 1915. His first wife and my older brother and sister are much older. His parents were immigrants. They came here from Ireland during a time of revolution and had to flee their own country. Don't share this with others, but my grandfather had a price on his head. It's probably something to do with farming. They came here to settle, to start a new life. When war broke out, my father was already married, had 2 children. He had the chance to go to college. He was an accountant for the Boston Edison, then called the Edison Company. He went home with papers in his hand. He had joined his 2 younger brothers. They had signed up to go to war, to leave everything behind, because the call was there. His wife refused to sign. Said, I'm not going to have myself become a widow with 2 children, no means to care for them. It's too much to ask. His 2 younger brothers were not married. In fact, the youngest was 16. He forged his papers for the Navy, taking them home to his mother and said, sign them or I'm going anyway. Some of that generation is here. You're all kind of middle-aged. You know that generation. It's the foundation of the generation that we live in, that we received. Sacrifice, honor, duty, service, it's part of our nature. It's part of what God has instilled in us through every generation. There's a quote that the children of Israel use often that my father used to remind me whenever we complained about something growing up in the 60s and 70s. Remember who you are. Remember where you come from. You were but poor farmers who were hungry, and you were given a new place to go. Go to that new place where there's plenty of work. Work hard. Don't complain. Serve. That's what he instilled in us. Our dad passed away 40 years ago. We were very young and didn't understand. He never wanted my brother and I to follow his path. He said, I want you to go to school. I want you to take every opportunity to grow, take it to another level. Our response was to imitate what we learned. So right out of high school, we both went into college and began in search. I wanted to be an FBI profiler. Now, if you want to do a little Google searching and see the richness, depth, and earthiness of this Irish family, my oldest brother is a famous crook. So there's a crook, a cop, and a priest. It would make for a great novel. It's actually already been printed. My brother and I started our studies, but in the early 80s, it was hard to get police work in Boston. I left school full-time after a year and a half and started an internship job in the town where I grew up, small town of about 30,000. I liked it because it was familiar. I knew the players, but I wanted something different. My brother got on the Metro Boston Police 35 years ago. That merged later with the Mass State Police. He's got a nice, cushy job at the State House. He sits outside the governor's office until it closes. His oldest son, Joseph, graduated from the State Police Academy a year ago. And it's what he sent me this week that kind of directs my words to you today. He sent a triptych picture of his first day at the academy when over 200 recruits showed up to have their individuality stripped from them. You must be rebuilt, put back together. We're going to teach you to not be afraid, to go where you were called and to do it bravely, to learn to operate as one when it has to be there, and to learn to act when you're alone. Just before going, my brother and I shared our best academy stories, which I can't share with you here, violation of several laws, I think. We said, Joe, you got your black belt in Taekwondo when you were 12 years old. Put on your Taekwondo face. Just look straight through them. They just want to find out where you're weak and to use it. It'll be over quickly. The second picture he sent was from his graduation. Over 200 troopers marched into Worcester Stadium, carrying their rifles and bayonets. The state police are very old school in Massachusetts. They came in perfect unison. They were sworn in. My brother pinned his son's badge on him. They saluted each other. The third picture he sent was something unique, and I don't know how details work here, but details are a good thing. It's a picture of them working their first detail together. So 6 months out of the academy, they got to work together. It's something that will probably not happen again, but my nephew wrote about it. And he said, I grew up learning what it means to serve, knowing that Dad didn't want me to follow his footsteps. But his work is good work. He takes pride in helping others. He's good. He's helpful. He's prayerful. He's a good father, a good husband. Joe knows what it means to be adopted, to understand St. Paul's language, that God chose us and made us his own. And from that, he doesn't choose us to be stagnant, to stay where we are, to be different, to get up and go. The call to the apostles in the end of Matthew's gospel, much like the Beatitudes we reflect on today, is about getting up and going, serving. Now, this is probably offensive to you all, but I'll say it anyway, because I'm from Boston. God did not make you to retire. He made you to continue to work. Go into the world and proclaim the good news. Proclaim baptism, peace, justice. I understand public safety work better as a priest than I ever did as a cop. I really wasn't very good at it, to be honest with you. The day of the Boston Marathon, my brother and I were cleaning out our mother's house. She had moved a year earlier into a nursing home when I got a call from headquarters dispatching me there without any information other than something bad happened. Get there as quickly as you can. I arrived within minutes to find the horror that was there. I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt and boots, and they slapped a raid jacket on me and put me to work. I've never seen anything so horrible. And watching the first responders who so intimately, symphonically worked together, knowing that they had to respond, not thinking about themselves or their own safety. And you've seen pictures of it like you have in other places here in our nation and around the world, where those who serve and protect us, our military, our veterans, our first responders, they go where they're sent. They go not thinking of themselves, and they go to serve in horrible times and also mundane times. You saw it in the news yesterday, a young officer just going to a call. Those whom respond and care for us need us to respond to them. So when you see them in uniform, whether it's your local first responders or our military, stop and thank them for their service. Pray for them. Tell them their work is honorable, that it has meaning. When great tragedy happens, go to them. Enter into where they work. Bring them your love. That's why we celebrate a Mass of peace and justice for those who serve us. The original term in our nation was peace officers. I wish it had stayed at that. They work for peace, but they go and do what others are afraid to do or should be afraid to do. My first week on midnight to 8 was the first time I encountered a bad accident. A car burst in flames. And I realized from that moment on that firefighters are crazy people to do what they do. Not much protection. They run into something burning on fire. Much like our EMS folks who have no means of self-protection but bring aid. Watching them work together and then watching them help each other afterwards was beautiful, biblically beautiful. But in the aftermath, the weeks that followed, the manhunt that followed, the devastation to the innocent who were slain and maimed, and to those first responders who saw that horror, it doesn't go away. They carry it often. They bury it often. They might come home to those whom they love and be a little off, a little grumpy, a little self-medicating. Talk with them, comfort them. As we pray here today, we ask the Lord to reveal to us the depth, the mysteries of his love, and of our need to get up and go, to join our first responders and respond with them and for them and comfort them afterwards. Pray for those who we remember who paid that ultimate sacrifice, gave their lives for others. Pray for those who are dispatched around the world today, especially in harm's way. Politicians and news stations offer their opinion, yet most of them have never served. Pray that we would serve them, honor them. Pray that the Lord would teach us how to be more selfless in our sacrifice so that we may lose ourselves with him and one day be with him forever. God bless you.
We would like to thank our generous sponsors for their wonderful support. Thanks for watching. Please join us next time for Action for Life. I'm for Action, and I hope you are too.